Photo Universe. So we're going to talk about the K-1 today. I don't do reviews, so we're not going to call this a review of the K-1. I'll do a review of the K-1. This is it. It's a 36 megapixel full frame camera with the IQ of a D810, a little bit higher with pixel shift, for under $2,000 US. That's all you need to know. That's the review. And I mean, it's the highest IQ camera you're going to get for under $2,000. And that's its claim to fame. And you know what? That's a winning combination, because all the rest of the camera doesn't get in the way. You know, it's as usable as a D810. Arguably, D810 might have a little bit better autofocus tracking, etc. But it's the interface is gorgeous, and it's a typical Pentax interface, which is terrific. It's a little goofy, you know. So there's some details, but the bottom line comes down to it's a 36 megapixel full frame camera with that image quality for under $2,000 US. That's the end of the review. You can stop watching now. Seriously. That's what you need to know. That's it. Now the nuances and all the rest of it, I mean, full frame is a very emotionally charged topic, okay? And that gets me into this, okay? So that's a iPhone, okay? And this is a brick, all right? And let's make a telephone analogy, a cellular telephone analogy for full frame and the state of the cameras right now. So 20 years ago, 15 years ago, you'd get a phone. Hey, I got a new phone. And you carry this around with you, and it was awesome because it worked. It was a cell phone that worked. People would ask me, I remember I had a phone like this, people asked me, hey, let me see your new phone. And I handed, hey, cool, oh man, awesome, right? Yeah. Okay, today, not so much, right? Okay, so today we have iPhone, which is a smartphone, etc., etc. It doesn't have to be in this analogy, but you know, it's tiny, it's small, it's light, it does calculations, got a lot of apps built in, awesome, right? A lot more capability, but basically no weight, you just put it in your pocket, okay? People had holsters and things for this, all right? So where am I going with this? Okay, so APS-c and full frame is kind of like the difference between the old telephone, cell phone bricks and a modern cell phone that's smaller and lighter and does the same thing. Now I hear people are squirming already, like, well, yeah, full frame's better. Yeah, it is. So now pretend that this brick is not a 30-year-old cell phone, but let's pretend this brick is a satellite phone. So I can be standing on the top of a mountain somewhere with my brick, and I can call anywhere in the world from the top of K2, or in the middle of Patagonia, where there's no, or out in the middle of the ocean. I'm on a sailboat, and I've got my brick with me, and I can call home or call for emergency services or whatever I want, because this brick is a sat phone, okay? All of a sudden, guess what? We don't mind the weight and the size and all the rest of it. This is a satellite phone, which has a lot more capability than a cell phone. Great. And this is the $64 question. Do you need a sat phone? If all you need is a cell phone, and this is a sat phone, you're going to carry this around at the mall? You're going to carry this around for all the time with you? In case of an emergency situation where you don't have cell service? Okay, so the point that I'm trying to get at is sometimes size and weight is useful if you have a need for it. I mean, not useful. Sometimes you don't mind the size and the weight because of the capability that you have a need for. If you're going to buy a sat phone with the size and the weight, and you're going to use it like, and all you need is a cell phone, you're carrying this around with you? For why? And that's my point. Okay, let's put the sat phone away. If all you need is a small APS-c mirrorless camera capability or APS-c output, which is 95% of the people out there, then why are you carrying a 5-pound camera around? That's my issue with the K-1, is that who really has a need for that? And I've been banging on about that all along. Do you really need full frame? And that's where the emotionally charged everybody freaks out. And people are freaking right now. And let me assuage that, okay? There's two kinds of cool. There's what it does, its capabilities, and you know, the first kind of cool is what something is capable of doing. For example, an F-15 fighter jet is extremely cool. A satellite phone is extremely cool. Cool kind of number one, because of what it does. You can make a phone call anywhere in the world without any cell service, not connected to anything except satellite, which is traveling over your head. That's brilliant. Okay, K-1 is cool because it's a, you know, a 36 megapixel full frame camera for under $2,000. That's number one kind of cool. There's no question about it. The second kind of cool is, it's cool because I like it. If this camera broke and didn't take pictures, it's still cool for me because I like it. I like the retro look on it, right? So that's second kind of cool. Now it's got first kind of cool too, because it takes really great pictures for the size and the weight and the handling and the retro and all that. So this has got both kinds of cool. All right, so it's like the replica pistols from 1800. Some of the people buy those. You get them up on Amazon, non-firing, 50 bucks. Why would somebody spend 50 bucks on a non-firing replica pistol? It's not first kind of cool because it don't do nothing. It's a paperweight. It has to be second kind of cool, right? People just look at that and they go, oh man, I'm going to get me an 1851 Colt revolver, non-firing replica, because I think it's cool. Okay, so two kinds of cool, all right? So having said that, and this really should put the emotional people freaking out of, I bought a K-1 and Ed says, you know, it's too big and too heavy, and I'm not saying that. And, you know, but it's cool. Yeah, okay. Free pass. Anyone who says that they bought a K-1, they have no need for it whatsoever. They take pictures of their cats in the backyard. They have no, or squirrels. They have no need for a K-1. Okay? They bought it because they think it's cool and they like it. Free pass. You go, man. You got the money. You're living large. I fully support you. I think that's totally cool. Go for it. I can't blame you. I did the same thing. Because quite honestly, I don't really have a need for this either. I mean, I kind of justify it with my landscape work, sort of. But it's like a sat phone, you know. 99% of the time, all I need is a cell phone. And that's being honest. So first kind of cool, yeah, the K-1 is cool because of what it can do. 36 megapixel full frame. The images are creamier, they're smoother, they're sharper, they're higher resolution, the depth of field is better. All of this is true. If you're taking a picture of a boring subject, if you're taking a photograph of something really boring, it doesn't matter what you shoot it with. However, if we're all standing at the Grand Canyon during a thunderstorm and you have an iPhone and I have a K-1, my picture's going to be a little bit better than yours, but they're both going to be great pictures. Maybe not an iPhone, although the iPhones are getting really good. All right, let's use the Fuji. If you've got this camera, and let's say this camera locks into 35 millimeter focal length, but let's say we're both shooting at 35 millimeters. This lens set to 35, this lens is already set to 23 for APS-c. And we're standing next to each other, and you take pictures of this, and I take pictures of this, and you have the same skill level and the same technique. You know, the key difference is going to be at 40 by 60 inch prints. I got brick dust all over. At 40 by 60 inch prints, you're going to see a difference in the K-1 image. Maybe 30 by 40, probably, when you get right up on it. But the bottom line is if I was there with this, or I was there with this, and it required, you know, let's say this was an XE2 with a the 18 to 55, which is pretty close. You know, most people are not going to need the extra megapixels. Nice to have, not really necessary. I mean, that's an extreme example too. Grand Canyon during a thunderstorm. That's a landscape shot. If we're doing portraits or weddings or something like that, you know, if we're doing weddings, this is probably preferred, right? Because you get, if let's say you're doing candid shots, you're getting right up in people's faces. You're not. I mean, you shove this in somebody's face, man. You made a statement. You know, you're definitely telling those people, I'm taking your damn picture. Okay, it's like screaming in their face, I'm taking your damn picture. With this, it's like, yeah, hey, I'm not doing anything. Don't look over here, I'm not doing anything. Like Caddyshack. Hey, Mr. Gopher, I'm not gonna blow you up. Yeah, okay. For formals at a wedding, you know, where you're on a tripod, you take, yeah, they're beautiful. There's no question about it. This sounds really negative on the K-1, and it's not. I mean, I got one sitting here on a desk, right? But I'm being realistic in the sense that, like, in this day and age, if you just need a cell phone, just buy a cell phone. Unless you really, really, really think a satellite phone is cool. You know, and that's totally cool. You probably don't need it, but it's cool. If you've got the money and the wherewithal and life is short, go for it, because the second kind of cool. Now, getting into the emotions, man. Let's put all that to bed. You know, I don't need people screaming and yelling, justifying. You don't need to justify. Okay, K1's cool, but it's, you know, but people, they're trying to justify why they bought a K1, they're going overboard. I read a post by a guy the other day where he didn't like the 24-70 when he got his K1, but after 3 or 4 months he's realizing that the differences between his K3 and his K1 are really subtle. And for what he's shooting, it's really hard to see the difference. And he thought it was a 24-70 that was junk. But now that he's progressing, he's realizing the subtle differences of the K1 versus the K3. And the 24-70 wasn't junk. He's just learning how to, what he's basically saying is the jump from APS-c to full frame really isn't that big. It's hard to see in most situations. That's what he posted. And that's called spending a lot of money to learn what I'm trying to say here from my experience. Okay, I'm not saying don't do it. Get a K1. If it turns you on, go for it. But what I am saying is don't expect miracles to happen. If you take crappy photographs with a K3 and good lenses, you're going to take crappy photographs with a K1 and good lenses. It's not going to instantly turn your photographs into perfect great, you know, fantastic, world-class Pulitzer Prize winning shots. That's not going to happen. Okay, I remember 5-6 years ago there was a guy running around. He might still be doing it. He was shooting with a Nikon D70, freaking 6-megapixel camera, and he was working. He was a Pulitzer winner with a D70, and this was when, you know, 5D Mark IIs were out. Okay, so yeah. The nitty-gritty on the K1, I did the lights and I did the dial, and as some people say, you know, I mean, there's a guy complaining on one of the forums that the light in the front doesn't light up the at night. It doesn't light up on his big fat lens. It doesn't light up the distance scale. Pentax never said it was meant for that. It's meant for changing your lens. So for changing your lens, it's great. You turn a light on, you can see the mount, you put your lens right on. As far as your distance scale is concerned, Pentax never meant that light to do that, so that's not a fair complaint. The lights work really good. Instead of these lights on the back of the pop-out deal here, they're in the back here, I would have preferred to have backlit buttons. One video I watched, they were complaining that there's no lights where you need them on the top. Well, that's kind of ridiculous because everything that you adjust on the top you can see on the back screen. So I got no problems with that either. So the camera works great. It works as good as a D810, except it's got built-in image stabilization. So every lens you put on is stabilized. You can put an old 50mm Pentax M series lens on it, and it's nice and stabilized. That's great. It shows that your old Pentax lenses aren't that great. This lens is okay, but there isn't a lot of contrast and not a lot of color saturation. It's a 30-40-year-old lens. I didn't expect it to be. People who have a pile of old Pentax lenses are really excited to put on this camera. I don't know why. I mean, some of them are good, but you know, there's no comparison. while the 24-70 Tamron / rebadged Pentax lens is on the table here, let's talk about that for a second. It's a great lens. I think that there's mixed reviews because of sample variation. If you go to Roger Ciala, lensrentals.com, he does they test and they do sample testing and variance testing on the different lenses. And they did a bunch of 24-70s, Canon, Nikon, and Tamron. And the Tamron, a good copy of a Tamron is as good as a Nikon, is as good as a Canon. But there was more sample variation amongst the Tamrons than there was amongst the Canons or the Nikons. Well, you know what? That right away tells me that you're going to end up with mixed reviews, because that's what happens. If somebody gets there's more of a chance you're going to get a not as good a copy Tamron than you would a Nikon or Canon. Okay, so I would say if you get a 24-70, test it right away, check it, make sure it's up to scratch. It needs to be really nice and sharp in the center at 2.8. At 2.8, I would expect the corners not to be as good, but I wouldn't expect them to be mush, and this lens isn't. The corners are sharp, not as sharp as the center at 2.8. But at f8, everything should be sharp, and that's where this lens is. Remember, everything's at f8 now because we're not APS-c. With APS-c, kind of f5.6 is my magic f-stop. With full frame, I have to remind myself now I need to shoot at f8 if I get a chance, because we're full frame again. We're back to film sizes, and everything works like film in terms of your rules of thumb. Your shutter speed needs to be the reciprocal of the focal length, etc. And with 36 megapixels, you can even double it again, so it's kind of still like APS-c. In other words, like, you know, with a 50mm lens, I would want to shoot at 1/60th. I want to shoot at 1/125th, really, if I'm hand holding. To get the most out, you really, the key to a full frame 36 megapixel camera is it's going to take, I was hand holding at like 1/4 of a second in pitch black during Halloween, and I got some great shots, you know. Are they pixel level sharp? No. Are they printable to 11x14? Sure. But if you want to maximize the potential of your megapixels, everything's got to be perfect. You need to be on a tripod. It's even to the point where you need to use electronic first curtain shutter, you know, at shutter speeds of 1/60th, 1/125th, 1/200th, etc. in there, because evidently the camera has a harmonic. Some of these cameras, not all of them have it. I haven't really seen it with this camera, so I'm not really sure. But evidently on a tripod, it's still early days too, but on a tripod you're getting some mirror shutter bounce with first curtain at select shutter speeds. And that's because with 36 megapixels is really the bleeding edge of resolution for a 35mm based camera system. 36 megapixels, I mean, I know Canon has 50, and Sony has 42 and whatever, but once you get past 36 or higher, you are right at the, I mean, you're not going to see a difference at f2.8, you're not going to see a difference if you handheld, you're not going to see, you know, you really need all your ducks in a row to really get that optimum. Everything's optimum here, right? I mean, you need a good lens at f8 on a tripod, mirror lockup. I mean, then you're really nailing down those 36 megapixels. Now that people freak out over that, does that mean you can't use this like a snapshot camera and you shoot away? You can go for it, shoot. It's gonna be great. I mean, the pictures are awesome. But to really extract as most that you can out of the 36 megapixels, to really perform to the level that these cameras are capable of, your technique has to be pretty much right, flawless. So I hope that helps somebody. So that's, you know, again, I'll reiterate, it's a 36 megapixel full frame camera that takes Pentax lenses for under $2,000 US. You know, at $1,800, I mean, they even raised the price it's selling so good. They raised it to $19.95 or so just recently. It was $17.96. It was $1,800 bucks, which was an even better deal. But you know, look at the competition. Nikon D810, which is like 2-year-old camera, but there's nothing wrong with that. We're really at the point now where it really doesn't matter if they upgrade these things. Nikon D810, $2,800. That's starting to look expensive. Maybe not so bad. Canon 5D Mark IV, $3,500, 30 megapixels. Ooh. Yeah, good luck selling those. I mean, I know they will because they have such an installed base. They'd sell a heck of a lot more of those at $1,800. I know that for a fact. I mean, obviously. I mean, I know that for a fact. Like, I'm some kind of brilliant guy. Obviously. I mean, they're selling okay at $3,500. Could you imagine if they put those things out there at like $1,500, which is probably what they're worth, right? Yeah, maybe $2,000. $2,000, not 1,500. Let's say $2,000 is where, I mean, Canon's really, you know, they're maximizing their profits where they can. I get that, but on the other hand, their business is shrinking, and so is Nikon's. I wonder why. Pentax has a hit with the K-1, and there's a reason for that, because they're offering, you know, their burger's as good as this joint down the street's burger, but it's half the price. Burger King versus McDonald's. You know, you go to McDonald's for 2 people and you can spend $20. You go to Burger King for 2 people and you can spend $8. In that analogy, the food's equally as bad. Why would I want to spend an extra $10 for equally as bad food? And Burger King has a veggie burger option, which for some people is fantastic. Why McDonald's never did that, I don't understand. Anyway. All right, well, that's really, you know, I've managed to turn a very one-sentence review into a big, long thing, but, you know, people like those opinions and whatever. Shot this at a wedding, it did great. It really, you know, do I really need it? Nah, not so. I mean, not really. I mean, for the landscapes, yeah, it's hard to justify. If you're trying to justify, and I shoot professionally. And a full frame camera, the APS, it's not that the full frame camera isn't great. It's the APS-c cameras are that good, and particularly with Pentax. We won't even talk about the 15mm limited that goes on the APS-c cameras. There is no equivalent yet. So it's still early days. I mean, that's the other thing. They got some, I mean, the Pentax for 2017 has 3 or 4 lenses on their roadmap. And right now, I'd take all 4 of them right now. Well, yeah, all 3 of them right now. Well, yeah, all 4 of them. They got a wide angle prime, a normal fast prime, a medium telephoto fast prime, and an ultra wide angle. So to me, that says a 35mm 2.8 or the 35mm f2. So they're redoing that one. It could be a 28, but I would expect a 35mm f2. I would expect a 50mm 1.4, and I would expect an 85mm 1.4, and then I would expect a 20mm 2.8. I'll take all 4 of those lenses right now. You know, the price is going to be, I have a feeling, the 85 1.4 is probably going to be $1,200. The 50 1.4 is probably going to be $5. The 35 f2 is probably going to be $5. I'm curious to see what they come up with. I mean, are they going to be plastic fantastics, or are they going to be more like the limiteds, or what you know, yeah, curious, but I'm looking, I hope they don't come out too crappy. You know, like we'll see. But anyway, so that's it, Photo Universe K1 thoughts. This really falls in the second kind of cool for me. I have a hard time justifying it. I mean, the results are great, and I'm really impressed with them. But compared to my APS-c stuff, you know, yeah. And the size and the weight, I'm not thrilled with. It is the heaviest of the D810 and 5D Mark IV. Size-wise, it's not too bad. The 24-70 is huge, but that's typical Tamron, typical full frame. The lenses get bigger. And you know, but it's second kind of cool for me. It is, and that's the emotions coming in. It's hard to justify. The results are good, but man, you're sacrificing. In my opinion, you're sacrificing a lot. I'd much rather walk around with this camera and get a little bit less quality results, but actually have the camera with me. And you know, yeah. So. Well, that's Ed with Funny Humorous. Thanks for watching. We got through this one. Talk to you later.